Haunted places in the world. Hey everyone, it's Alexa, and welcome back to another video. Ready to spook yourself silly? Today we're talking about the most haunted places in the world. We hope you're watching this video while the sun's still out. Stanley Hotel. Does the exterior of this hotel look familiar to you? It should, because this place inspired Stephen King's novel, The Shining. The movie was not filmed here, but the Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado was where it all began. Lots of people stay at this hotel since it's only 5 miles from the Rocky Mountain National Park. The 142-room hotel opened in the early 1900s, founded by Yankee steam-powered car inventor Freeland Oscar Stanley. Stanley moved to this area of Colorado for its open air after doctors diagnosed him with tuberculosis. Thanks to the move, he was eventually cured of the disease. Because of Stanley's appreciation for this region, he decided to open a hotel so others could experience the relaxing environment. His wife, Flora Stanley, often entertained guests on the piano. The couple passed away in the 1940s, but over the years, guests reported seeing the piano keys in the ballroom move by themselves. On top of that, guests also said they hear children playing or that they see figures hiding in the hallways. Monte Cristo Homestead, Australia. Every good ghost story needs a good backstory, and Monte Cristo doesn't disappoint. Located in New South Wales, Australia, the homestead dates back to 1885 when a local pioneer named Christopher William Crawley constructed it. The Crawleys lived there until 1948, and the stories of what's happened since the passing of the original owners are enough to give anyone a chill. Reg and Olive Ryan currently own Monte Cristo Homestead and run it as a tourist attraction, complete with ghost tours and a museum. The Ryans are convinced that the ghosts of the Crawleys haunt the place. Some of the terrifying claims include a stable hand who was trapped in a barn fire, a child dropped down a flight of stairs by a nanny who says an unseen force pushed her, and a housekeeper who tied up her son to the outhouse for more than 30 years. Island of the Dolls, Mexico. The Island of the Dolls is one place where the creepiness factor is through the roof. Years ago, the caretaker of the island found a small girl washed up on the island. She had drowned, and he was unable to revive her. A while later, he saw a doll also washed ashore, and assuming it had belonged to the girl, he hung it to a tree as a sort of memorial. The guy believed the spirit of the girl possessed the toys. To appease her, he hung dolls all over the trees on the island. For 50 years, the caretaker continued this tradition until the day he died. Now, visitors report hearing the dolls whispering to each other, moving on their own, and their eyes following them as they walk through the eerie scene. Raynham Hall, United Kingdom. Famously haunted by a ghost named the Brown Lady, Raynham Hall is located in Norfolk, England. The Townsend family has owned it for over 400 years. The Brown Lady, according to the stories told by historians, is the ghost of Lady Dorothy Walpole. She was the second wife of Raynham Hall's past owner, Charles Townsend, a man known to have a vicious temper. After Townsend discovered Lady Dorothy having an affair, he locked her in a room in the home. There she stayed, not even allowed to see her children until her death in 1726. Since then, apparitions have been spotted throughout the house. A photograph said to be one of the most famous ghost sightings captured on film was taken by Country Life magazine in 1936. In the picture, you can see the Brown Lady descending the main staircase of the house. Poveglia Island. In the Venetian lagoon between Lido and Venice, you'll find Poveglia Island. This small island has a long history, first appearing on historical records in 421 CE. For most of its beginning, Poveglia experienced peace as its small size made it easy to guard against invasions. Then, when the bubonic plague happened, Venice exiled many of its sick to the island. In the 1800s, Bee Asylum was built and opened on the island, with word that doctors performed awful experiments on the patients there. If you listen closely, you can still hear the asylum's bell ringing, even though the bell tower is long gone. Nowadays, Venice prohibits anyone from going to the island. Even the fishermen do not dare come close. The Beechworth Lunatic Asylum, Australia. There's nothing scarier than an abandoned mental asylum, right? Formerly, it was called the Mayday Hills Lunatic Asylum. It's located in Victoria, Australia, and used to be one of the largest hospitals in the town. Beechworth was founded in 1867. By 1995, it closed its doors after 128 years of service. The stories of hauntings at this old asylum are many and terrifying. Many visitors have told stories about the presence of a man who appears briefly near the cellar and then disappears just as quickly. Then there are the typical doors opening and closing on their own and mysterious screams echoing through the large hallways. One of the most notable and frequently told stories is that of a woman who is seen standing at one of the windows inside the asylum. Dragsholm Castle, Denmark. This castle comes complete with not one, not two, but 3 ghosts. The bishop ordered the building of the castle in the 12th century with the purpose of serving as a home to nobles and kings. It was used for that purpose through the Reformation of Denmark from 1534 through 1536, before it was used as a prison until 1664. Today, many visitors to the castle claim to witness a male figure riding a horse in the courtyard. It's believed that this is the ghost of one of the prisoners, James Hepburn, the 3rd husband of Mary, Queen of Scots. The 2 female ghosts are also said to reside at the castle. One is the happy spirit, called the Grey Lady, a maiden who worked at the castle and died after receiving a cure for her toothache. She now roams the halls as a grateful ghost performing good deeds from beyond. The second female is the White Lady, and she isn't so happy. Her name is believed to be Selina, a daughter of nobles who fell in love with a commoner and became pregnant. Her father imprisoned her in the castle after he found out. In the 1930s, workers in the castle discovered a skeleton wearing a white dress in one of the walls. Rumor is, you can hear her moaning and see her wandering the halls searching for her lover. Edinburgh Castle. If you ever look at the Edinburgh skyline, you probably have noticed the castle on the hill behind Old Town. The castle is one of Edinburgh's most iconic features. It's been there since the 12th century, with construction continued well into the 21st century. Edinburgh Castle is home to the Scottish Crown jewels, but also 2 hidden tunnels and ghosts. Talk of restless spirits surround the castle, much of them speculated to be the prisoners that once lived in the dungeons. One story involves the soul of a piper who explored the castle's tunnels hundreds of years ago and vanished without a trace. Another tells of a headless drummer who has frequented the halls since the 1650 attack on the castle by Oliver Cromwell. The supposed hauntings don't seem to deter tourists, though, since 2 million people visit the castle every year. Fairmont Banff Springs Hotel. The Canadian Pacific Railway opened the Fairmont Banff Springs Hotel, the majestic structure looking over a valley in the Rocky Mountain mountain range. The hotel opened in 1888, making it over 130 years old. It features 764 guest rooms, highly rated restaurants, and hosts lots of weddings. One of the most famous scary stories associated with the hotel is that of the bride. It was the late 1920s and a young couple were about to be married. On the wedding day, the bride accidentally tripped down the hotel's marble stairs. Since then, various guests and employees alike alleged seeing a veiled body walk down the steps or seeing a wedding dress dancing on its own in the ballroom. The Bhangarh Fort, India. Due to the terrifying legend of this fort, visitors are forbidden from staying on the premises overnight. How's that for creepy? Locals are so afraid of the fort that the city nearby developed outside the fort's limits so as not to disturb the ghosts. Many believe a scorned wizard placed a curse on Bhangarh after a girl he fell in love with didn't return his affection. Now, both the wizard and the girl's souls haunt the place. Several fatalities that happened here were attributed to the paranormal activity. The most well-known incident was a group of visitors who, against everybody's warnings, entered the fort at night and came across a boy sitting in one of the rooms. Little detail was revealed as to what happened to them, but the level of secrecy leaves you to draw your own conclusions. The Tower of London. The Tower of London sits along the River Thames in central London. It has existed since 1078 and was then rebuilt in 1285. It just makes sense that the older something is, the more ghosts probably live there. We can make an individual list of the haunting stories tied to the Tower of London because it has so many. From Henry VI to Lady Jane Grey to nameless ghosts seen by many visitors, it's easy to count this landmark among one of the most haunted places in the world. Eastern State Penitentiary, Pennsylvania. Rated one of the most haunted places in the United States, Eastern State Penitentiary has been the focus of documentaries, ghost hunting expeditions, and private ghost investigations for years. Located in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the prison was used between 1829 and 1971. One of its most famous inmates was Al Capone. alone, who served time in 1929. After it was no longer used as a prison, it was named a U.S. National Historic Landmark and converted into a museum. The prison has a long 142-year history of murder, suicide, disease, which is the stuff of a great ghost story. Visitors of the prison recall tales of echoing voices and screams from within the cells, seeing shadowy silhouettes in the dark halls, and the sounds of footsteps that seem to approach and then stop in thin air. Hold on. Before we reveal number 1, we have a little question for you. If you were a ghost haunting an old mansion, what would your legendary ghost name be? Let us know your creative answers in the comments below. Château de Chateaubriand, France. This castle dates all the way back to the beginning of the 11th century. At the beginning of the 16th century, Jean de Laval and his wife Françoise owned the castle. At that time, the king called upon de Laval to come to court and advise him. Françoise became a lady-in-waiting to the queen and secretly began an affair with the king. When de Laval found out about the affair, he allegedly poisoned Françoise on October 16, 1537. Legend has it that every October 16th at the stroke of midnight, you might catch sight of the ghosts of knights and monks following Françoise, Jean de Laval, and the king up the main stairway in an eerie procession, disappearing as the last stroke rings out.